The story begins with our main character, Miko, who lost his parents at a very young age to the monstrous creatures known as ogres. Since then, he vowed to wipe out all ogres from the world. We are told that when monsters first appeared on Earth, humans formed separate kingdoms and created royal guards to protect their lands. In the current timeline, the scene opens in one such kingdom where Princess Sally is seen running away from her own guards. They are chasing her because she dreams of leaving the kingdom to explore the world, something her parents disapprove of. While fleeing, she encounters a traveler who turns out to be Miko. She begs him not to reveal her location, and he agrees. When the guards arrive, Miko deceives them by posing as a girl due to his long hair. He tells them monsters are often seen nearby and points them in another direction. The guards leave. Grateful, Sally thanks Miko and offers to show him around the kingdom. Since she's well known, she helps Miko find trade opportunities. Later, she invites him to the palace, serves him a delicious meal, and asks about his journey. Miko shares parts of his story, admiring how peaceful her kingdom is, but Sally reveals she feels trapped and longs for adventure. That night, unknown to them, a group of monsters is shown observing the palace from afar. The next morning, Sally visits Miko's room and accidentally walks in while he's changing, still under the impression that he's a girl. They later travel together again, and Miko shares more of his journey. Inspired, Sally becomes confident about pursuing her own adventure, believing that if someone like Miko can travel the world, so can she. She asks to join Miko's team. He warns her that his path is dangerous, even deadly. Sally is initially scared, but Miko laughs it off, saying he was joking. Meanwhile, the king is approached in the palace hall by a monster, one we saw earlier with another creature. The monster claims they don't want war but demands 30 human bodies every month, or they will begin killing people themselves. When a guard attacks, the monster kills him, clarifying that this body won't count. The king says he will consider the offer. Outside, as Miko and Sally are leaving, the monster who met the king notices Miko. Upon seeing him, the monster panics and flees. Miko sees him too and gives an evil smile. In the next scene, the king calls Sally and tells her to stay hidden. But soon, the palace is attacked by a horde of ogres, led by Yaki and his brother Moki. Yaki informs Moki that the boy who destroyed their city is inside the palace. Miko steps outside, smiling eagerly at the sight of the ogres. Moki is excited to finally take revenge. Sally pleads with Miko to leave, warning him about their strength, but he ignores her. Miko introduces himself to Moki. Moki attacks first, but Miko swiftly unsheathes his sword and cuts off Moki's hand. Then, tying his headband, Miko charges forward and slaughters the ogres one by one. Maki realizes that Miko is someone who genuinely enjoys killing monsters. Curious, he asks who Miko really is, but Miko says nothing and finishes him off without hesitation. Afterward, he walks over to Sally, who is visibly shocked by what she's just witnessed. Suddenly, a dog emerges from the palace and walks up to Miko. Without saying a word, Miko and the dog begin to leave. Sally tries to stop him, but Miko ignores her. As Sally moves forward, her eyes fall again on the corpses of the ogres. Fear roots her in place. The scene shifts. A month has passed since Miko left, but Sally still can't stop thinking about him. Determined to go on an adventure herself, she confronts her father. To show her seriousness, she cuts her hair. Surprisingly, her father agrees but asks if she has a plan. Sally admits she doesn't but is confident she'll figure it out along the way. Dressed in her adventurer's clothes, Sally sets off. After some travel, she arrives in a forest where she spots a human-like rabbit girl unconscious on the ground. At first, Sally ignores her, but when she hears a noise from the girl's stomach, she gives her a carrot. When the rabbit girl wakes up, she introduces herself as Bunny. Sally shows her a drawing of Miko, but Bunny hasn't seen him. Since the journey ahead might be dangerous, Sally invites Bunny to join her, and she agrees. They reach a small village, but one of the villagers isn't happy to see Bunny, as the village harbors prejudice against demi-humans. He treats Sally politely but tells Bunny to leave. Disliking the attitude, Sally chooses not to enter the village. To bypass the discrimination, Sally disguises Bunny's face with a cloth, and they enter the village again. This time, they meet the village lord, who warmly welcomes them, unaware of Bunny's true nature. Bunny's excitement at the sight of carrots accidentally reveals her face, but the lord shows no reaction. He assumes they're just travelers and invites them to stay the night at his house. That night, the Lord shares a story with Sally about how monsters used to attack their region until a traveler wiped them out. From his description, Sally realizes it was Miko. When she asks about him, the Lord says the traveler left quickly and they didn't even get a chance to thank him properly. Curious, Sally questions the Lord's prejudice against demi-humans. He explains that demi-humans may act kind at first but eventually reveal their dark nature. Sally doesn't argue and simply listens. The next morning, Sally hears a commotion outside. She rushes out to find a monstrous ogre attacking the village. Paralyzed with fear, she's almost attacked, but Bunny intervenes, taking the monster down with 2 swift kicks. Meanwhile, some soldiers who had been observing from afar witness everything. Back in the village, Sally thanks Bunny, but the villagers are now terrified of Bunny's strength. The village lord asks them to leave. Bunny politely thanks him for his help, surprising everyone with her kindness. As they reach the edge of the forest, the soldiers confront them and arrest them without explanation. In the next scene, they're in a prison cell. A captain named Hawk arrives and releases them. He explains that Bunny's strength made her appear dangerous, and since Sally was with her, she was detained too. When Sally asks why they're being freed, Hawk explains that he spoke to the villagers, who said Bunny never caused any harm and had a good nature. Realizing Bunny wasn't a threat, Hawk apologizes and takes them to the Rimdari kingdom, where he serves as a captain knight. While exploring the kingdom, 2 ogres are seen outside its massive protective wall, one named Jade, the other Mary. They plan to attack. To breach the wall, Mary sacrifices one of her ogre eyes, creating a hole in the barrier. However, using so much power weakens her, shrinking her in size. She decides to stay behind while Jade moves in and slaughters the kingdom's soldiers. Sally spots Jade and, in shock, begins to approach him. Hawk pulls her back, urging caution. But Sally is unable to control herself. Just as Jade prepares to attack her, Bunny intervenes, knocking him away and urging Sally to flee. Snapping back to reality, Sally refuses to run. Hawk grabs her and begins evacuating civilians, warning them of the danger. Meanwhile, Jade laughs and lunges toward Bunny, ready to strike. Bunny was using all her strength, but due to the massive size difference, her attacks had no effect on Zed. As she began to lose, Sally shouted her name from a distance, which reignited Bunny's determination. She charged again, but Zed overpowered her and threw her down near Sally. Sally stepped forward, refusing to back down. Zed declared he would kill them both. Suddenly, Sally felt a strange surge in her body. Her eyes began to glow, just like Miko's did at the start of the story. Without realizing what was happening, she sliced off one of Zed's arms and smirked with an eerily similar evil grin. The scene shifted outside, where Mary was sitting under a tree, waiting for Zed's return. Miko appeared from behind the tree and asked if she caused the recent explosion. Mary, surprised by his sudden presence, was pleased to find company while waiting. She revealed her ogre eye, slicing the tree, but Miko dodged easily. He had already suspected she was an ogre because of the horn on her head. Miko explained that he didn't want to fight, only to talk. Meanwhile, inside the kingdom, Zed was laughing excitedly at Sally's power, thrilled to have a worthy opponent. He launched another punch, but this time Sally stopped it midair, leaving Zed shocked. Back outside, Mary asked if Miko was the traveler eliminating monsters. Miko confirmed, and then questioned why she and her friend were attacking the kingdom. Mary explained that humans, fearing monsters, built kingdoms without considering the other creatures. She was one of those abandoned beings. Though she didn't hate monsters or humans, her kind had nowhere to live. She sought revenge. As she spoke, her powers fully returned, and she summoned all her ogre eyes, declaring Miko a threat that must be eliminated. Miko readied himself, tying his bandana and saying if that's how it had to be, she should try. Inside the kingdom, Z2 stated that Sally was now a threat and unleashed a powerful technique that caused a massive explosion. Mary heard the blast and got distracted. Miko took the chance to attack and sliced her down the middle. However, she regenerated using magic and laughed it off. Mary tried to guilt Miko by saying he should be protecting his friends, but Miko calmly replied he wasn't saving humans. He only wanted to eliminate ogres. He then used his magic to destroy all of Mary's ogre eyes. Back in the kingdom, as the dust from the blast cleared, Sally stood completely fine, which meant Bunny was safe too. Sally drew her sword and defeated Jade, though she fainted immediately afterward. Outside, Miko told Mary that none of her attacks would affect him. Mary replied that she would try her most powerful attack. Miko agreed and drove his sword into the ground, saying he wouldn't move. Mary unleashed the same attack she once used to break a giant wall, but Miko wasn't scratched, not even a little. Exhausted, Mary reverted to her small form, her powers depleted. Miko placed his sword on her, and Mary, realizing her end was near, asked for his name. Miko told her but didn't kill her. Instead, he destroyed her ogre eye so she couldn't use her full power again. He also cut her horn, the source of an ogre's power. Miko's dog arrived and asked if he wasn't going to kill her. Miko said no, her power was gone, and now she was basically human. The dog understood that Miko saw a part of himself in Mary. As they left, Miko had also sensed Sally's presence. The dog asked if they'd meet her, but Miko said he didn't want to meet his spirit yet. This hinted that a fragment of Miko's spirit still resided inside Sally, which was why her power had activated. Miko and the dog left. Then, a mysterious man, who had been watching everything, said he had found the man he was looking for. Later, Sally regained consciousness and saw Bunny sitting nearby. Just then, Hawk arrived and returned Sally's sword. Sally asked what happened to the ogre. Hawk replied that she had defeated it. She was the one who killed it. Sally was surprised. Hawk then took both of them to a cell and showed them Mary. He said they found her on the other side of the broken wall and that she was an ogre. Sally said she looked human, but Hawk explained that monsters could look human too. He said she was likely responsible for the attack, so she needed to be eliminated, though they hadn't yet because she was unconscious. Sally said she would stay until Mary woke up. After Hawk left, Bunny revealed that Mary was only pretending to be unconscious. Mary sat up and admitted she was an ogre. Then, she suddenly attacked Bunny, but her punches had no effect. Miko had already removed her powers. Sally found her cute, while Mary was shocked her attacks weren't working. She remembered Miko cutting her horn and took his name, which surprised Sally. When asked, Mary started explaining everything. Outside, we saw another ogre heading from the forest toward the city. Back in the cell, Mary finished telling her story. Sally said since her powers were gone, she was now just a normal human, so she didn't need to die. Mary said she was an ogre with no powers, so there was no point in living anymore. Sally didn't like hearing that. She told Bunny they had to help Mary escape. Elsewhere, Hawk was sitting when soldiers informed him that Mary had escaped with help from Hawk's two friends. Shocked, Hawk rushed outside and saw Sally, Bunny, and Mary leaving. He tried to block their path, but Bunny attacked him and knocked him down, and the three ran off. Hawk chased after them, trying to catch up, but suddenly, the entire city was destroyed by a single attack. Hawk was stunned and terrified, unable to understand what had happened. Meanwhile, in front of Mary stood a high-level ogre, the one who had just destroyed the entire city in a single blow. His name is Simon. When he arrives and sees Mary with a human, he asks her what she's doing there. But at the same time, he also notices that Mary doesn't have horns on her head anymore, which means she's lost her powers. He says, "Without horns, you're just like a human. You're of no use to us or to the ogre family. So you should just die." Hearing this, Mary immediately drops to her knees and says, "As you order." Sally didn't like this at all, so she steps forward and tells Simon that what he said was wrong. At this point, Bunny also comes forward. Sally and Bunny were both ready to fight, but just as Simon is about to attack them, someone suddenly contacts him through telepathy and stops him. The one who contacted him is Miraji, the same person we saw earlier watching over the kingdom. He tells Simon not to attack Sally and to return. Simon is forced to obey his superior's command and leaves. By then, the sun had begun to rise and morning was approaching. Sally sees Hawk on his knees, staring at his ruined kingdom. She quickly runs to him, wakes him up, and tells him that nothing can be done now. They must survive on their own and take revenge on whoever did this. Hawk agrees, saying the first thing they need is to find a village because they have no food left and there is no nearby forest where they can find anything to eat. Mary then says that there's a village nearby, but it will take them half a day to reach it. They start walking, and in the next scene, they arrive at the village. They first look for a room and reach a hotel, but the ogre there refuses to give them a room upon seeing Bunny. However, when Hawk steps forward and the ogre sees his face, he recognizes him as the knight captain of the Rimdari kingdom and gives them a room. They go to the room, and Hawk gives some money to Sally to buy food. After Sally leaves, Hawk is deeply saddened, but Bunny comforts him, which makes him feel a little better. He then leaves to drink some water. Mary, who was also standing there, tells Bunny that she's very kind despite being a demi-human. Bunny replies that she wasn't always like this. She only changed after meeting Sally. Bunny then asks Mary her name. Mary tells her, but Bunny says that's her ogre name, and since she's now human, she should change it. Bunny names her Carrot, and Mary accepts the name. The scene then shifts to Sally in the market, wondering how she'll carry food for all of them. Just then, Miko appears and sits beside her. Sally is very happy to see him again. Miko says her short hair suits her, and also mentions that he knows she must have learned and endured a lot during this journey. Sally says yes, she's learned how cruelly humans treat demi-humans and that they don't like them. Miko replies with an example. Imagine a child whose parents were killed by a demi-human. What would he do? Sally says he might hate demi-humans for a while, but Miko's expression changes and he says, no, he'd decide to kill all demi-humans one day. Though he was indirectly talking about himself, he quickly laughs and says they shouldn't talk about such things. Meanwhile, Miraji is shown in the village. A little girl gives him a pastry, and he thanks her. Simon also arrives and asks Miraji why he stopped him. Miraji says that if Simon had fought Sally, he would have lost. But Simon doesn't believe it. Back with Miko and Sally, Sally says she doesn't understand why humans and demi-humans hate each other so much, but she wants to introduce all creatures and species on Earth to each other so they can live together. Miko says it won't be that easy, but Sally says she'll try anyway. She then invites Miko to join their group, but he says he must travel alone. As he leaves, he says, "We'll meet again and share our stories." Miko leaves, and Sally returns to the hotel with food for everyone. When she enters, she sees a little boy named Brett. Hawk tells her he's from the same kingdom. When they ask how he survived, Brett says a witch from the western forest helped him. Sally is surprised and says she wants to meet her too. In the next scene, it's Knight and Mary, now called Carrot, but we'll still refer to her as Mary, goes into the forest to meet Miraji. She meets him, and Miraji tells her that even though she's lost a horn, he still considers her an ogre. But she'll have to do something for him. When Mary asks what it is, Miraji says she must keep an eye on Sally. Mary agrees. Before leaving, Miraji also tells her to use her ogre eye to look at Sally. She'll be shocked. In the next scene, they all go to a bridge near the western forest. When they reach the forest, they find a large house. Inside, they discover it belongs to the witch. She soon appears and introduces herself as Vinny. Sally requests her to teach her magic. First, Vinny checks if Sally is really human, and once she's sure, she agrees, but on 3 conditions. First, whatever Sally learns, she must not teach anyone else. Second, she must always follow Vinny's orders. And third, she must give Vinny 1 million gold coins. But seeing their situation, Vinny says they can just give whatever money they have. Hawk objects, saying it's not fair. They're on an adventure and don't have spare money to give away. Sally then approaches Hawk and requests him to teach her statesmanship instead, and Hawk agrees immediately. During training, Mary uses her ogre eye to check Sally's power and sees an extremely dangerous light, meaning Sally is truly very powerful.